1 week, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Apple event in 1 week that no one was able to really call or predict. Did anyone else notice that? Like, how long has been September 15th set for the next Apple event, and no leaker ever brought that up? No one ever wanted to commit to that full commitment. But now, we're all going to believe them on what the hardware at this event will be. They didn't see something that was a week away from them, something that was right under their nose. They couldn't notice that, but now we're all going to blindly believe and say, oh, okay, they said there's no new iPhone, so that means there's no new iPhones. All right, you guys do you. You believe them as much as you want to. But I think we're getting new iPhones next week. Andrew Sabile, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub for 15 months. Why are people saying Apple won't announce the iPhone when the event is 2 hours long? That's what I can't figure out. Gurman didn't give a date for the event. He said that we would get an event announcement for the September iPhone release, which he has now gone back on within 2 days, and now we're all blindly believing it. My point is, the leakers don't know what they're doing. If there's one takeaway I could give, it's that a couple days ago, Gurman was suggesting that the iPhone was going to be unveiled at a September event, and now he's decided, oh, actually, you know what? Actually, they're not unveiling it at the September 15th event that no one knew about. Literally no one. No one came forward and said Apple would have a September 15th event. No one saw that coming, but we're all trusting them on this. iPhone 10 wasn't ready. They still unveiled that in September. 10R wasn't ready. They unveiled that in September. Yes way, Scott. They've unveiled iPhones in September, whether or not they were ready to ship for the past 7 to 8 years. Huge chance. I would say it's likely. For one, Apple paid for the hashtag on Twitter, Apple Event 2020. It's not September Event 2020. If they were planning on launching iPhones in October, they would have called it September Event, or at least Apple Event Part 1 or something. But no, they just did Apple Event 2020, and it expires, that hash flag expires on the 28th. If they were planning on doing another event 2 weeks after, then why would they let the hash flag expire? Doesn't make any sense. That would be a waste of money, and they would have to pay for it all over again. His source instantly told him no iPhone the second Apple announced the event. Why are we trusting these people? Because they flip-flop on things by the day? Are you as hyped for next week's event as much as a year ago? Yeah, I am, because now, last year's event, it was like, cool, we're getting new iPhones. This year, it's like, now no one knows what we're getting. I don't know why people are running with this, because every news agency, every article I've seen posting about it says this event is focusing on the Apple Watch and iPads. You guys know that would take like 10 to 15 minutes to talk about, right? You think they would do an event over a 10 to 15 minute subject? The Apple Watch Series 5, which arguably has more to talk about than the Series 6, took 5 minutes of stage time. No joke. You can go back and watch it. And the 2019 budget iPad, which had lots to talk about between the larger screen, the smart connector support, and now it supports the Magic Keyboard and all that, that also took 5 minutes. And the new iPads are not giant redesign. Like the iPad Air 4, you maybe get 5-10 minutes out of that, but that's it. Like, those aren't full giant event material. It's not there. I lost so much sleep expecting new hardware this morning. That's my point again. These leakers can't predict this stuff very well. They don't know what they're doing. I'm sorry, Pizza Man, you lost so much sleep. The event's been filmed for months, so Apple just thought they would mess with the leakers, show them who's daddy, and randomly drop the date this morning. Yeah, if anything, what this morning proved is that the leakers really don't know what's going to happen. I personally hope there are iPhones, but I won't be expecting them. Well, okay, there's probably some hope there. I guess you could just imagine that the event will get canceled. Set your expectations really low. Apple will cancel the event next week. But in my opinion, if they're announcing it a week before, I think we're getting new iPhones. I'd be very, very surprised. I won't say it's impossible, because obviously there's a lot of... Well, there's not a lot, really. It's only two. There's Mark Gurman, who's flip-flopped on this subject several times already, which is why I'm not inclined to believe him. Because literally 2 or 3 days ago, he was saying the iPhones would come out in a September event, not October. And now they announced the event that no one got right. No one was saying it was going to be September 15th. Literally, I didn't see one report. Apple proves everyone wrong and says, actually, it's only 1 week late. Because if COVID didn't happen, September 8th would have been when the Apple event takes place, because pretty much every year they do the second Tuesday of September unless it falls on the 11th, and then they push it to a Monday or a Wednesday. But other than that, it's pretty much always been mid-September, and everyone kept saying, well, COVID's going to push it to October. COVID's going to push it to October. The idea that everything's getting pushed back so that they can just have a special live-streamed event to talk about... Here's the part I think people are missing. The iPad and Apple Watch upgrades are tiny, guys. Tiny. They, like, not even a full day ago, like 6 hours ago, we were all in agreement that they would be site refreshes. Everyone was almost convinced that, I know some of you stood out, but for the most part, everyone was like, well, yeah, Series 6, Apple Watch SE, they're not really that big a deal, so there'll be a site refresh. And yeah, the budget iPad is just a silicon chip improvement. It's not that big a deal. Sorry, I'm seeing lag on the screen. I'm going to turn off. I forgot to put this to sleep. Sorry about the lag. Hopefully I can get that fixed. Comcast being weird. Okay. That should help. But every other year that Labor Day falls on the second week, then they push it to Wednesday. In 2015, it was actually Wednesday, September 9th, and the event was held, so journalists would have one day after the holiday to fly to San Francisco. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much always been second week material of September. So everyone kept saying, nope, it's going to be pushed to October. Nope, it's going to be pushed to October. Only for Apple to apparently announce a mid-September event just so that they can not have the iPhones there and have another event in October, a month later. Like, it's very rare. The iPad, the budget iPad's super basic, for one. The iPad 8 is just, here's an updated silicon chip. The iPad Air 4 is a dumbed-down version of the 2018 iPad Pro. So you could maybe have a little bit in there about Touch ID on the power button being different, but still, that's not a full-featured event. What this would be like, this stream could age horribly, by the way, but I don't care, because... if there's anything 2020 has taught us, it's that leakers get stuff wrong a lot, and what Apple does is often very, very different from what actually ends up happening. Dang it, there's still frames dropping. Stop it! Ugh. Why does this happen now of all times? What else do I have to turn off? Tim is just sitting somewhere laughing. No, I think Tim doesn't give a crap what we think. I think Apple does what they want, and leakers are full of crap most of the time, to be honest with you. An event to announce no more new hardware in 2020. We are pushed to 2021. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this event. I mean, if it ends up being true and there's no new iPhones, I mean, I guess we get 2 Apple events. Cool. I would like 2 Apple events. That's fun. But I also would rather I would rather have an iPhone event now in a packed Apple Silicon Mac event in October. It doesn't make any sense to me. Because whenever I bring up that the Series 6 and the iPad are not, you can't make a whole dedicated event to those 2 products, especially when they're this small of an update. There's just way too little changes. They're very, very small. The Series 6 we thought was coming today, and it didn't. There goes our reputation. The iPad Air 4 is literally almost the exact same design as the 11-inch iPad Pro. The last iPad Air did not get stage time. Like, can we remember that for a second? Like, the iPad Air 3, which was using the same hardware as the previous iPad Pro. So, I mean, that was, you know, that's not really much different from where we are here. That resulted in just a site update in March of 2019. They're like, okay, here's the new iPad Air. So the idea that they would send out invites to everyone by the Apple Event 2020 hashtag just so that they could talk about a watch and an iPad... I'm sorry, it just makes so very little sense to me, and the leakers have been so wrong lately that I just don't have much faith in them right now. Let's see. Yeah, an event to announce that 5G is canceled. That would be good. Let's see. A full packed event next week with iPhone, iPad, and the Silicon Mac. Yeah, that sounds believable to me. I mean, what this would be like, in my opinion, is us going into June, right? Worldwide Developers Conference. That's always happened in June. and Apple announces an event that takes place in June, and we're like, oh, cool, WWDC, here we go. And then we go into it, and they don't talk about iOS. They just talk about watchOS, macOS, and tvOS, and they never bring up iOS 14. Even though every single year we're used to having Worldwide Developers Conference at the same month, and they have an event just to talk about those three things, but not iOS. That's what this would be like if the September event does not have iPhones. It would be the biggest clickbait Apple could possibly make. I mean, to avoid confusion, I feel like it would be in their best interest to at least clarify to the public, if it is true that they don't want to unveil them until October, they would at least say, like, okay, we're having a Apple Watch, iPad, and AirTags event, I guess, or whatever else is being announced, and then we're going to unveil the iPhones later. I feel like they would be more upfront about that. I don't see Apple as the type of company to announce a September event like usual, like we get every year for the past 8 years, just to be like, actually, there's no iPhones, though. Apple specifically said the iPhones would ship a few weeks later than usual, yes, but that says nothing about the event time. Because, again, the iPhone 10 didn't ship until November, and that was still unveiled in September. They said a few weeks. They didn't say the event would be a month late. Pack the iPhone event with everything. I know, that would be awesome. I've waited 12 generations of iPhone to transition from Android to Apple. I hope they don't disappoint. They'll probably disappoint if you're expecting big tech specs. iPad and Watch are minor refreshes. I agree. I think we will still see the iPhone. I don't think the Watch and the iPad warrants a full event. It's not that big a deal. I am still getting a lot of stream lag. I apologize. I don't know what the deal is because Wi-Fi is off on pretty much all my other devices. I think, yeah. So I don't know what to do. I apologize. Let me see if I can edit the bit rate a little bit. That might free up some space. Yeah, leakers have been very unreliable lately. Very much so. Apple should have finalized it if there's going to be a Pro Display by now, right? Yeah, I really doubt it. I hate how many frames are dropping. Kills me. I'm not going to click links because then they have to open on the browser and I can't see the chat. AirPods Studio at the event would be cool. Yeah, I mean, AirPods Studio could be nice, but is it worth a whole event over? Because again, iPad Air 4 and Apple Watch Series 6, can we at least be in agreement that the changes here... Guys, you know what is rumored for the Series 6? It's like a slightly better CPU and a blood oxygen level sensor. You think they would build an entire event off of a blood oxygen level sensor? Also, iPad Air 4 is like, here's a cheaper version of the iPad Pro. Do you think they would make a whole event about that? Is this going to be a whole event just about catch up with all our little devices that we haven't messed with for a while? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. September events have been the iPhone event for years. Why they would suddenly change it into a catch-up hardware event for the sake of, I don't know, people are expecting one. The latest tweet about Apple event September 15th. The latest tweet before today was 2018. Huh, it's been a while. AirPods Pro, 16-inch MacBook Pro, and iPad Magic Keyboard are just a website refresh. But Series 6 and iPad 8, they need a 2-hour event. Thank you, exactly. Magic Keyboard. No leaker, no one would have assumed that was going to be a site refresh. But the truth is, Apple has been emphasizing site refreshes way more often these days. Which is why doing a whole event for the Watch and the iPad makes very little sense to me. I don't get it. It's very confusing if it's true. If AirPower is still real, no, it's not. It's really not. We will have 30 minutes of Kevin dancing, then 30 minutes of AR demos, so there's your first hour. In my opinion, it's more out of the ordinary, and it's more crazy to assume there won't be iPhones at this event. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Because people act like I'm going against the norm, or people act like I'm denying facts by suggesting that the leakers are wrong, even though the leakers have been consistently wrong all year. And my point is, what Bloomberg and what Gurman are suggesting is very, very, very out of the ordinary. And they don't have great track records behind them in the first place. They have finished the filming for the iPhone event. They probably don't want to kill the hype since it's October shipping, right? Yeah, most likely won't ship till October. Yeah, John was usually pretty accurate with release dates. I believed him. You know, you can go back and watch my videos. I was convinced we were getting new iPads and Apple Watches this week, but yeah, now he didn't get that right either. So that's kind of my point. I'm confused by the frustration. I expect the event being iPhone 12, iPad refresh, Watch 6, maybe small update with maybe a few features, iOS run through, camera demos, and some fluff along with iMac computer reveal with Apple Silicon. Mike, that's what I expect, and I think that's what we should expect, but the problem is leakers have to turn everything into, how do I make this situation about me? Because it wouldn't be that terribly interesting of a story if it was just like, Apple confirms September 15th event, we were all wrong, we got it incorrectly. But instead, we go, well, it's September 15th, but there's no iPhone. I was right all along. You got me. Say we do see iPhones. Is Apple the type of company to tell us wait until November for them? They have. Yes. That was more of an exception than a rule. Well, they did it again with the XR. They said, here's an iPhone. It's not ready yet, but here it is. So, yes. Is Apple the type of company to do that? Yes. They have done it. I wish Mark didn't say anything. I honestly think they said to bring clicks to Bloomberg. To me, the logic of it feels like Bloomberg was just trying to not admit they got it wrong. Because Bloomberg said previously that iPhones wouldn't be unveiled until October. And that's how they kind of worded it on... what's it called? Their article, is they were like, no iPhones at this event because, as we previously reported, they're not being unveiled until October. All right. Everyone told me to look at John Prosser's Twitter, and it's basically just saying what everyone else is saying, which I don't know why you care. John just got today's report wrong. Why do we all instantly believe today's tweet? Guys, what the heck? What? Who cares? Is no one listening to me? The point is they got it wrong. Like, dude, 6 hours ago, John was saying Apple Watches and iPads were dropping today. And he was incorrect. And now he's saying there's no new iPhone at this event. And you all instantly are like, well, he got this one wrong, but he'll get the next one right. Why? He also said iPhone OS the day before Worldwide Developers Conference, and that didn't happen. Why do we keep believing these people? They just keep getting things wrong after one another, and we just forget about it. Like, oh, okay, you got that wrong, but this one's right. It's like we have a inclination to just, anytime we hear one report from anyone with some type of following, we just instantly believe them, no matter how incorrect they are. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't care if it ends up being right. I'm just saying, why do we instantly believe people that have consistently been wrong? I don't get it. No, he didn't get it half right. He was saying earlier this year that iPhone event would be October. And no one said there would be an event this week. No one brought that up. If we do see iPhones at this event, Drew will have the new highest credibility record. I'm not a leaker. I'm just a guy that's looking at all these leaks. I've followed leaks for years, which is, I think, why I'm more skeptical than most of you. Maybe some of you haven't been following along as long. My friend told me he knows someone who knows someone in China, and the iPhone is in mass production since May. It has to come out soon. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, website refreshes and release dates for products was all John kind of had on his track record. When it came to hardware announcements, he was kind of a wild card. It wasn't super reliable, so the fact that he got this wrong doesn't help. Not a leaker, but has a higher record than the leakers. You need to click on the Apple logo on the announcement page. Oh yeah, I've seen the AR demo. Yes, I too have Twitter. Has this always been a thing with there being so many leaks around iPhone release? It's my first time planning on getting one. I did definitely notice there's been a lot of leaks. Yeah, this year feels different. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I think that everyone's trying to be the next Coin X, and everyone's realizing how simple it is to get attention, especially on Twitter. Something very mysterious, something very mysterious and very exciting and very clickbaity about being able to just be a random anonymous source and just tweet out something, and then in hindsight you end up being correct. And I think everyone's just trying to get on that train now. And yeah, exactly, DJ. There's a lot of people that are bored and with nothing to do. So here's the truth. Apple events have almost always been second week of September, mid-September, right? For the past 8 years. And because of all these leakers and because of all these announcements and people throwing us off, we've been convinced for the past few months that they wouldn't be until October because of COVID, and that's what leakers are saying. The iPhones are delayed, everything's pushed back. And we just blindly believe these people because they have credibility, so it's believable that, okay, they're big, someone's big, so they obviously know what's going to happen. And then after all this, it ends up being a mid-September event at the end of the day. It all comes back to, oh, it was at the pretty much, okay, it was a week later than usual, but it was pretty much the same time of the year that it was going to be from the beginning. But none of the leakers saw it coming. They didn't get it right. No one predicted it. And I guess I just get annoyed when announcements are surrounded with who is right, who is wrong. Like, where did it bring you? Back to me. Exactly, Vinny. I kind of enjoyed today's video because it's basically like, cool, we got an event. This is almost always the time of year that iPhones get announced. At least that's the way they've been announced for the past 8 years. So let's do a video about, yay, new iPhones are coming. There's all kinds of new hardware coming out. But then how the news sites in leaking communities are like, well, how do I turn this into a story about me? How do we make it about, like, I said this and I might be right or wrong. Let's find out. And then when the announcement does happen, it's this big story of, okay, this guy was right, this guy was right, this guy was wrong, this guy was wrong. And we have to just dwell on both. We can't just focus on the announcement itself. It has to always turn into who said this, who said this. Meanwhile, at Microsoft, okay, you got us. We're making a Series S, and here's the price for the consoles. Happy November 10th, I guess. Yeah, I like the way Microsoft released the Series S. They're just like, all right, you got us. There it is. Yeah, I'm not a leaker. I just have common sense, I think. I just have reasonable doubt of people that have been incorrect for a while. LiDAR is just another case of Apple selling you something you won't use. Well, I mean, yeah, pretty much. Android 11 came out today. Have you been able to test it on the Pixel, or have you gotten rid of it already? Nothing major in this update. I tried to put Android 11 on my OnePlus, but it wouldn't show up. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't get it to show up. I would rather have it on the OnePlus. From 10 to 12. Yep, people are reminding me it's a 2-hour event. How they're going to fill a... I don't know. It just, to me, it shows kind of the blind hype we put behind a lot of these leakers when they're suggesting something that is very much out of the ordinary and not typical. Like, Apple doing a random catch-up event where they just put a bunch of stuff that would be... I mean, we all agreed, like a day ago, not even, like 6 hours ago, we all agreed this type of stuff we're talking about is site refresh material. Updating the Apple Watch silicon chip and adding a blood oxygen sensor and making the iPad Pro cheaper for the iPad Air. All of which we were like, yeah, that would be kind of a site refresh. And now they're suddenly changing the narrative into, actually, this event is just going to be a bunch of site refreshes put into one. It's going to be AirPods Studio, AirTags, The mini HomePod, which Bloomberg said was coming out last year, and then it didn't, but we'll just forget about that. And now it's coming out at this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And the one thing that always comes out in September, that's not coming out in September because we said so. It's like, can we not just... I don't know. Gets annoying. Well, this guy named Xing Zhao told me the iPhones are able to make phone calls. You should trust him. He has a Twitter with a stock profile picture. He has a stock profile picture, exactly. Time flies means time in the watch, and flies is the iPad Air plus time of flight sensor for Apple Glass. Or you could say time of flight sensor for the 12 Pro. Also, we've established that the Apple event invite subtext never means anything. In 2018, it was gather around. And I remember all the leakers saying, oh, that means round Apple Watch. A round Apple Watch is coming. Nope. There was not a circular Apple Watch. And then last year, it was by innovation only. People were like, innovation? So it must be Apple Glass. And there was not one piece of innovation at that event. It was just the iPhone now has an ultra-wide camera. The Apple Watch has an always-on display. That's not innovation. It was just, you know... Those little invite image reference things we've never gotten those right. That's never given us an accurate representation. If anything, every September event has matched a color scheme that kind of teased an upcoming product. So last year it was kind of the rainbow Apple logo, and those were the colors for the iPhone 11. The year before that it was like gold, and it matched the XS gold. This year it's blue, so a lot of people are assuming that means blue iPhone. Yeah, very likely to be the new iPhone color. Watching this on my new MacBook Air, absolutely love macOS. It's extremely snappy and smooth, and the only complaint I have is that the gaming performance is about as good as the 20 ThinkPad, aka the Tank, but whatever, it's a MacBook. Also, I can comfortably edit 4K at 60 video on this thing. Oh, that's good, Yusuf. I'm glad you like it. Congrats on the new MacBook. And yeah, it's a MacBook Air. That's pretty much the last recommendation someone would give you if you were asking for what computer is good for playing games. MacBook Air, very, very bottom of that list. Everyone would be like, okay, if you care even remotely about playing games, do not get the MacBook Air. Yeah, the blue iPhone would look nice. I agree. What if they talk about their bundle for their services? Again, a bundle for the services would not be a flagship. It would not be like a big event. It's not something to build an event around. Apple One you could summarize in 5 to 10 minutes. Combine everything that people are suggesting might possibly be announced at this event, and you'd have like 40, 50 minutes worth of stage time. Unless everyone's just pitching that there's going to be a whole lot of fluff. It's going to be an hour and a half of fluff. Hopefully they fix the 120 hertz by next week. And don't count on it, guys. Really don't. Anytime there's something on the fence like this, it pretty much always ends up being incorrect. I would especially not trust John Prosser on these types of leaks right now. It's not proven to be very reputable, especially in most recent history. Their leaks change by the hour. Just like, now it'll be this. Actually, you know what? Now it'll be this. And then Apple does something no one predicted. Well, we knew that was going to happen, but there won't be this at that event. I know everything about that event, except the fact that it existed an hour ago. Do you think they'll have a new keynote after this one, maybe dedicated to the ARM Mac and maybe also the iPhone if they don't announce them next week? Well, okay, in the small chance that there is no iPhones at this event, then yes, there absolutely will be a second Apple event. But the question is when. It'd be very, very bizarre for Apple to have events back-to-back. Pretty much the only time Apple has events 2 times, in a row, like 1 month and then the next month, is when they're doing it early September and then late October. In 2018, they did that, but the September event was super early, and the October event was super late. So there was a good, 6 weeks between the 2 events. The fact that this event is September 15th means that unless they're comfortable putting events back-to-back, which is not likely, there's not much of an advantage to doing that, that means that they would have to push the iPhone event, if there is going to be a second event just for the iPhones, they would have to push that until end of October, which seems really, really late. If it's October 12th, then yeah, there's less. That would mean there's less than a month between the 2 events, which Apple has never done. Leaks are getting more pointless because they say something and then, like quadruple UDC, they change their minds an hour before the event. Yeah, I agree. It kind of defeats the point when leakers don't really know what's happening, so they just keep changing their leaks day by day. Do you think this is going to be a poo-poo platter of the rumored Apple products? It's going to be a very, very confusing event without iPhones. I must say, I can't recall. I think the last time... No, I don't think there's ever been a September event without iPhones, has there? I think the last time there was, it would have been when Steve Jobs was still alive. So it's safe to say Apple's very different now. Apple are looking at the leakers and then change what they'll do based on that. I like that idea. It's funny, but I don't believe it at all. It's funny to imagine that Apple just sees what leakers are saying and then intentionally does the opposite. But in my opinion, I think they do. I don't think Apple cares at all about us. I think we over-exaggerate the impact and influence leakers have on Apple. I really don't think they care that much. I think Apple has plans set in stone for the most part, and they let the leakers do their thing, and the leakers just get a lot wrong because they have a lot of sources to choose from, and they'll believe a lot of sources that they shouldn't believe, and they'll run with things that they shouldn't run with. And then, of course, like you said, they'll change their mind the day before, or they'll change report once the Apple comes out with an event that no one predicted. So that's why I'm still expecting iPhones next week. I don't pay attention to leaks to make events more exciting. Yeah, the problem is they do so well. I mean, people like talking about them. People ask about them all the time. So it's not like I can just really swear them off and say, all right, I'm not going to do leaks anymore, because then people would just be asking about it constantly. And that's how a lot of you guys found my channel, was through covering leaks and that kind of thing. But in my opinion, just as important is covering the leaks and talking about what is being rumored. It's also important to say which ones sound incorrect, which ones don't sound believable. I don't think it would be responsible for someone, and I think there's a lot of YouTubers that do this, and it gets kind of old. A lot of YouTubers will just report any leak as fact and pretty much never express any type of skepticism or doubt, and just run with every single rumor and report. I think it's safe to remain skeptical of certain ones, be like, that doesn't sound right, and you can be wrong. There's no harm in that. I don't think people watch my videos because of my flawless track record, and I don't want that type of attention put on me. But it's encouraged. I think it's important to encourage people to remain skeptical about leaks. And I'm not saying you all have to believe what I say. I'm just going to present my argument, and you should present yours. It's that simple. I don't think this is Apple intentionally leaking false info. I think this is news agencies doing their best to cover their track record. Because Bloomberg did previously report that iPhone event wouldn't be until October. So if they didn't say something, if they didn't throw things off and say, actually, there won't be iPhones at this event, then they would be admitting they were wrong by saying, okay, iPhone event next week. So that they cover their base. They say, actually, no, there won't be iPhones at this event. It's just for the watch and the iPad. But in my opinion, that claim makes so little sense that I'm inclined to not believe it. Introducing the Apple Simp. Good idea, Yusuf. We should call it Apple Simp. Let's see. Did the 4S ever exist? Pretty sure the 5S only existing because of the Siri edition. Yeah, the 4S is real, Mike. That's a real thing. That was the last iPhone I think Steve Jobs introduced. Honestly, the event is just going to be first 20 minutes fluff about something, then iPhones and explaining them for 40 minutes, then more fluff. Last iPad and Watch 6 for like 10 minutes tops, and then throw in one more thing. It's in a new Mac and more fluff. Honestly, I'll be honest. I'll be completely honest with the chat. I don't care if John tweeted again. Because there is so many last minute stuff he has gotten incorrect that what he says is going to happen, I don't care at this point. You don't have to remind me in the chat every time a leaker tweets something. It's okay. Especially if they have gotten things wrong in the past 24 hours. Yeah, the 4S introduced Siri, not the 5S. But I'll be honest. I don't think the Apple Silicon Macs would take up that much stage time. To be frank, like there was a lot of Apple Silicon talk at the last Apple event, and I don't think you need honestly that much talk for a new chip, especially if it's rumored to be going in like a basic MacBook and it won't be drastically redesigned. With the quality of production of quadruple UDC, I don't care if it's 2 hours just for the iPad and watch. That quality will make me glued to the screen. Oh yeah, I'm definitely watching it regardless. It's not like I think it'll be a bad event if there's no iPhone. I think there's potentially really interesting ways they can do it. I just think it's really clickbaity. It doesn't seem like Apple to clickbait. Apple's not the clickbaiting type. That's what this feels like. Especially if they're not disclosing that this is... they're not saying it is an iPhone event, and they're also not saying it isn't. I mean, Apple has to understand and acknowledge that most people, when they see September event, know that that means iPhones. At least that's what it's meant for the past 8 years. So to just announce that for some little tweaks to the watches and iPads feels very, very much like Apple deceiving people, just kind of throwing people off, getting people excited for the new iPhone, which honestly, let's just look at this from Apple's perspective for a second. That doesn't help them. That really doesn't give Apple much of an advantage to say that, hey, there's an Apple event next week. That's going to slow down iPhone sales. Why would they mysteriously and not be direct say September event next week? So you can imagine that if they announced that type of thing, it would kind of flatline sales of the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro. If people are hearing that a new iPhone could come out next week, then no one's going to buy it. But then for the event to take place and there's no new iPhones, so you flatline sales and then don't really have anything for people to get excited for, there's not much of an advantage here. I don't see the angle. What's Apple's benefit in... Like, Apple doesn't get money by getting clicks or generating hype. All this does is encourage people to stop buying the new iPhone, just by hyping up a tiny event. Let's see. People. 120 hertz won't come to Macs because 120 hertz is for gaming and only came to the iPad because of the Apple Pencil. Also, people wanting 120 hertz on the iPhone 12 just because it looks nice. I think there's more scrolling and motion on the iPhone, and also there's more smartphones that are adopting 120 hertz these days in that price margin, whereas laptops that have 120 hertz are typically only doing it for gaming, and laptops struggle a lot more with battery life than phones do. So bringing 120 hertz to the Mac is a bit... You're asking for more, and you're probably penalizing battery life a lot more than you would on something like an iPhone. That would be like with what Google did with the Pixel 3. They said, so you think you know everything about the new Pixel, that kind of clickbaity. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Apple has to understand that this is making people think that there's new iPhones coming. And that's going to flatline sales. So to flatline sales just so that you can update your watch and your iPad. I mean, come on, they know. Apple's better than this. They're the king of events. They get tech events better than any other company. They have to know that if they announce an event like this and people watch it and there's just new watches and iPads, everyone's going to hate it. Everyone's going to be trending, was expecting the new iPhone, didn't see it. And everyone's just going to be mad at them. They have to be aware of that, right? Sorry for the comment. Zone of Tech has just tweeted saying, looking at the Apple logo, it looks like a depressed person with their head in their knees. Interesting. Maybe the Apple event won't announce new hardware at all. It'll just be someone depressed for 2 hours on stage, like cradling themselves. Even if they announce the iPhones, but they only come out like 2 weeks later, people will stop buying anyway. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, if the iPhones come out at this event and they're not ready to ship, that's still hype. That's still your advertising. That's marketing. People get excited for the iPhone and you get to pre-order it or whatever, you know. They did this with the iPhone 10. It was like 2 months before they shipped it. They unveiled it. And it did great, obviously. The marketing for it was really successful. It actually does look like a depressed person. Ha-ha! I am 90% convinced that there will be iPhones and everyone else is just wrong. Everything else makes no sense. Yeah, Yoshi, I think I'd have to agree with you. Again, I've been wrong a lot, so take that with a massive grain of salt. But the leakers can't really say they've been that accurate either, to be honest. The leakers can't say they saw this coming. All of their reports changed instantly once they realized how wrong they were. So I feel like they just kind of cover in their butts as much as possible. And they may have sources, but I question the validity of those sources. Those sources may have other sources, and they sometimes tell them right things and they sometimes tell them wrong things. I think it's very out of the ordinary for there to be no iPhones at this event. I was actually thinking of selling my PS4 Pro for an Xbox Series S, but then realized my 20 games will become useless and will instead wait until Sony makes a cheaper PS5. Good idea. Probably go on sale. The keynote will now be Tim Apple sad that Phil is now gone. That's a good idea, actually. Just Tim Cook crying. I could get used to that. Man, I didn't use Twitter at all last weekend, so now I'm getting all these notifications. I'm like, wow, social media, it's engaging. My dopamines are off the charts. Anyway, Twitter users when they're wrong. But I just checked with my sources. I just checked with my sources that gave me incorrect info, and they're now claiming this. Also, yeah, the metadata. There's a lot of people tweeting that the YouTube link for the Apple event has metadata that references the Series 6. It's like, okay, that wasn't much of a surprise. Also, the metadata shows iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple TV, Apple, iOS, watchOS, tvOS. Like, it literally just has any Apple tag you can imagine. So I guess Series 6 is kind of a leak, but it's the marketing department, so I wouldn't put too much faith in them, to be honest. Twitter users, when they find out the solar system is centered around the sun and not them. Oof! It's a big oof there. Wasn't there some leaks about Apple working on a mental health app? That's what's coming out now. I didn't see much concrete reports of that. But honestly, I don't see how that would help. In my opinion, if something notified you on your watch that you were having stress or anxiety, wouldn't that just give you more stress and anxiety? If you're like, and the watch is like, you are having a panic attack, wouldn't you be like, oh my god, even the watch says I'm freaking out? Wouldn't that just worsen things? How do they notify you that you're having a stress problem without causing more stress? Other than just like recommending you take the Breathe app. Take a minute and breathe. Why? Why do you want me to breathe? Is something wrong? What's wrong with my heart? Am I going to die? Mental health? Depressed? Just be happy. Problem solved. If you're homeless, buy a house. Well, this one guy from this one country that risked his job for some Apple TV leaks said this, but shh. I thought the new iPhone was pretty much a guarantee for a September event. Yes! YOLO! That's what I'm trying to say. The problem is there's now multiple... why is there still lag? What the heck? Everything's turned off. Well, I guess I turned this back on to look at this stupid... Everyone started spamming. Go on Twitter, look at this person that was wrong. They might be right again. How long are we going to believe these people, guys? Is there a limit to how incorrect someone can be before we just start saying, you know what, I don't think this is going to happen? Is there a limit? Look at watch. Hey, yo, guess what? You got suicidal thoughts again. All good, just get Apple News Plus. That's terrible. Sorry, that's kind of dark, but kind of funny. We'll know if there will be iPhones at the event when they show that summary at the beginning of what they'll show. Do they do that at iPhone events? I know they do it at DubDub, but I'm not sure if they do it at the iPhone event. I don't know. This just seems like something leakers would get wrong, in my opinion. Leakers have gotten a lot wrong, and this seems like something they're definitely not sure about. You know what the problem is? The issue with these leakers is that I'm sure they have multiple sources. It's not like Gurman or John or Weinbach. It's not like they have one person that feeds them everything, right? They always say sources. So there's lots of people they're getting their information from. The truth is, we don't know which ones are telling them what. You know, we all hear the same thing out of the same mouth. But who told them what information, we don't know. So it's very difficult to understand, like, which are you talking to the source who gave us, you know, the iPhone SE release date, or are you talking to the source that gave you the event invite notification? Like, someone knew that the event invite would be sent out, but they didn't want to tell you when the day was. So I don't know. Fool once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me thrice, shame on you. Pretty much, yeah. Shame on you. Stop fooling me. Apple will start leaking their products on Apple News Plus, but no one will see them because no one subscribed. That's a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? Wow. Let's see. What are you most excited about besides finally seeing the iPhone 12s? Besides the iPhone, I think that was what I was most excited for. I guess I'm just kind of excited for another, like, I really, really enjoyed Quadruple UDC. It was a fun event. It was well produced. It was entertaining, and it was chock full of new information and great updates. And we got a lot of things we weren't expecting. Remember when John Prosser said iOS 14 wouldn't have widgets? I remember that. And then it had widgets. So yeah, I'm just excited for another Apple event. I just don't... It doesn't make sense to me that there would be an hour and a half of watch and iPad. So even if these leaks are correct and there's no iPhone at this event, then it would be interesting to see what else they talk about. I mean, how much else can they announce? Apple Silicon Macs, which is exciting. That's cool to see. I guess I'm pretty excited for Apple Silicon. I want to see how they brand this chip and how powerful the chips are. And then I also would like to see AirPods Studio, if that's coming out here, or AirTags. Finally get some answers on those things. I don't think there will be an event for just the iPhone, an entire keynote on one thing. The Note 8 did that. It was kind of boring. I mean, yeah, I mean, to be fair, Apple is the type of company that probably could get away with doing iPhones, only iPhones at an event, but I do agree that if they do a second event and it's literally just for iPhones and nothing else, it would be kind of weird. Typically, Apple doesn't do whole events over one product category. They like to do lots of stuff. Which, again, makes me doubt these leaks, because if that's true, then that means that, well, in October, they'll do the iPhones and the Apple Silicon Macs. Which means there's even less things to talk about at this event. I just don't see there being 2 events worth of content, to be honest. I hate leakers. Now we have this back thought that it's a September event. There won't be even iPhones. I'm already destroyed, Timmy. Also, I think the red iPhone 8 box is upside down. Is it? Oh my God, you're right. It is upside down. Oh, how did I not notice that? Oh my God. I gotta fix it. 1 second. There we go. Sorry. Glad we could correct that. Figured it out. What if there's a new iPad Pro? Also highly unlikely. For one, the iPad Pros are in decent stock, and also they came out in March, so refreshing them like 6 months later doesn't really make much sense to me. Would the first Silicon Mac be introduced as a one more thing or just a normal release? I guess they could do it as a one more thing, but it would be kind of not so much of a one more thing moment when Apple already confirmed it's coming. They said the first Apple Silicon Mac will come by the end of this year. The gold one's upside down? Where? Oh, it is. The gold one is. Hold up. There we go. Fixed. We got it. The gold iPhone 8 drew. Ha! Guess what? The iPhone 8 in red was upside down, but it is now fixed. And also, idiots, that's not an iPhone 8. That's an iPhone 7 Plus box. And I'm amazed that you guys spend so much time staring at the background of my videos and you still don't recognize iPhone boxes when you refer to them. Come on, people. Apple Silicon Mac coming December 31st. Yeah. I feel like this is a protest to the leakers. Yep. I'm not buying it. Apple can prove me wrong, but leakers can't prove me wrong. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter what other people say. My iMac Pro is upside down. Oh no! Let's just rotate the whole thing. iPad Pro is literally still has the new tag on it. It's not going to be updated until at least March at the earliest. Yeah, I would agree. March probably at the very earliest. Randy won't be in the podcast anymore. He will. He was just busy last Saturday. We come up with jokes to write off hosts from the show. He was actually at a friend's wedding, I believe, so he was not able to make last week's podcast. But he should be back next week. Oh, actually, I'm not sure if next week's podcast will be on Monday because we might want to wait for the event to happen and then do a podcast. We'll see. Let's see. He got secondhand married. Right, secondhand married. My shirt is upside down. Oh, I'm not falling for that one. I'm not falling for that one. Let's see. I don't have the iMac Pro box anymore. Actually, it could be upside down. I recycled that box, so there's a good chance it's somewhere upside down. Can't wait for Apple Weather Plus, I swear. Minus Apple Music, every Apple service is just stupid. Yeah, I don't even subscribe to Apple Music anymore, so I all I got is iCloud storage at this point. I'm texting back my wife, so give me a second. My chair is upside down. No, it isn't. It's fine. See? I'll be logical when I need to. Yesterday's podcast has already become irrelevant because of the comment about the September event date. I know that we knew that would happen. In that way, it has become aged wonderfully because we said in the podcast that it wouldn't age very well. No, I don't use Spotify. Why would I use Spotify? Why did I unsub from Apple Music? Watch the podcast and you would know that. Okay, there. The text has been sent. I'm texting my wife from 24 feet away because she's in her office taking phone calls, talking to people, and I'm live streaming. So, yeah, I'm not going to talk to her while she's on the phone with clients. That'd be a bad idea. Which episode, Chad Lord? The one called I'm unsubscribing from Apple Music, Mr. Chad, Mr. Scarlord. Isn't it kind of sad that the Pixel has a high refresh but the iPhone doesn't? I would be fine with 90. Yeah, but the Pixel is way more sad than the iPhones, let's be honest here. The Pixel 4 goes to 90 hertz when the brightness is above 75%, and the battery is smaller than the Pixel 3, so running at 90 hertz is pretty terrible. The Pixel 4 is a classic example of how to not do 90 hertz correctly. If you're looking for a phone that's like, they did a high refresh rate, but not in a wise way. The Home Hub is seriously underrated. Really? I don't know that many people who have one. Maybe it's that great. That's why you're saying it's underrated, I guess. Let's see. Are you a YouTube Music kind of guy? Yeah, I'm afraid I kind of am. I really don't listen to music that much in the first place, which is why I kind of unsubbed from Apple Music. I wasn't really utilizing that service that much because typically I'm either with my wife having a good time or watching TV, or I'm in here working, and when I'm working, I am either watching a YouTube video while I'm working or I'm watching my video as I'm editing it, which means I can't listen to music while I'm editing because I'm listening to the audio and stuff like that. No, Google Play Music was discontinued. YouTube Music was not just Googled. YouTube Music is still a thing, and that's like their flagship. Google basically owned two music streaming services, Google Play Music and YouTube Music, and they decided Google Play Music was redundant, so they got rid of that. Now they just have YouTube Music. Almost flipped you off. Subscribe to App Store to get 3D party apps, only $15.99. Oh, great. That sounds like a great deal. What about the possible Apple Fitness subscription could be unveiled with the watch? That will be literally the most cringy, most embarrassing event of all time if that's what this is. Maybe I'm in denial because it sounds so terrible. Maybe that's the reason I have such a hard time believing there won't be iPhones. Is because, for one, they haven't done a September event without iPhones, I think, almost ever. I think the one time they did iPhones in June, they had October events, not September events. So this would be a first, in the idea that the whole event would just be about the watch and the fitness subscription. It sounds so dumb. It sounds so ridiculously stupid that my brain refuses to believe it's possible. 30 minutes iPhone. Hour and 30 minutes Apple Card updates. Yes, Slack. Can we get some more Apple Card features? What's the M series of chips? The motion coprocessors. You can look it up. Tim Cook is making a fitness program with us live for 2 hours. So Tim Cook goes up on his Peloton and he does the bike riding stuff with us, and we follow along with him. Drew went from helping us save our iPhone storage to helping us save our mortgages. Can't wait till Drew gives us beard trimming and relationship advice. I've given you all relationship advice, just not on the tech channel. That's not what the tech channel's for. Let's see. I would argue that whole March services event should have never existed. Yeah, I mean, most people, I think, would agree that that March event was terrible. But that March event existing is kind of my point about why they wouldn't do a whole services event in September, if anything. 1 hour for AirTags. We need a physical Apple newspaper? No. That's not good for the environment. I didn't like the YouTube Music app. It's ugly and the features aren't very intuitive. I agree. I don't like the YouTube Music app. It's way worse than the Apple Music app, but the Apple Music user interface and layout, to me, is not worth $100 a year. And if you're paying monthly for it, like $120 a year. That's a lot of money to spend for, I prefer the album art to be in this place. And the truth is, I'm going to be paying for YouTube Premium nonetheless. Even if I don't use YouTube Music, I'm paying for Premium because I watch so much YouTube. I rent out, I have the family plan for $15 a month, which you can't get anymore. I was lucky. I was able to sign up when they still offered that, and they grandfathered me in when they updated the prices. So I rent it out to a couple of my cousins and my sister. Basically, me and my wife both get YouTube Premium on our YouTube accounts for, I think, like $5 a month. And YouTube Music is included with that. So, hey, the UI is a little clunky. The layout's not that good. But I save $100 a year. So, worth it to me. And I don't listen to music that often in the first place. The whole 2-hour event could just be them trash-talking Epic Games. I would watch that. That actually sounds wonderful. I would love to watch Tim Cook give a diss track on Epic. And it's called Tim v. Tim because he's going up against Tim Sweeney. Be like, talk about monopolies, let me show you sloppy. I don't know. What could Time Flies be about? Nothing. Remember, go back and look at the event invite subtext. They never resulted in any type of hint. It's always been just random text that they put there that had nothing to do with the actual event. People talk about how Chrome has the best UI and features. Yeah, I'll use Edge on Windows and Safari on Mac because I don't want a browser that makes my laptop start to melt. That's important. I do use Chrome on my iMac Pro, but I'm also using Safari at the same time because YouTube, when you have multiple channels, makes it pretty difficult to switch between if you have multiple browsers open. So it just makes multiple tabs open. So it's actually easier to just have several browsers. It's an Apple Watch that can glide. Also, my iMac Pro doesn't have a battery, and the thermal management on it is great, so I'm not worried about it overheating. Thoughts on Nikola and GM partnership? Oh, GM. I think that's going to end up being one of GM's biggest mistakes of the 21st century, to be honest. I think that's going to end up backfiring heavily for them. I think they invested something like $2 billion in Nikola. Pretty much the more research you do into Nikola, the more scammy and sketchy it sounds. And the only people that believe in Nikola are the people who haven't done much research on them, from what I've seen. I agree with the CEO of Lucid, who basically said, you are nothing until you are mass-producing vehicles and delivering them to consumers. Yeah, Nikola is still vaporware. Just because they got GM to sign some paperwork, that doesn't change anything. If anything, the fact that they have just now partnered with an established automaker means that the specs, the pricing of the Badger, are all up in the air. They have no way to promise the specs they originally advertised. Even the renders, even the Photoshop and images of the Nikola Badger, none of that you can trust now, because they have not worked with an actual company that's going to produce them. $2 billion out the window. Yeah, I don't think GM's going to get much out of that transaction. They're very, very scammy, and Trevor Milton seems to be wanting to pump the stock like crazy. Man, the Mac Mini does not like Wi-Fi today. It has lagged all throughout this stream. But anyways, I got to get going, guys. But I appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate the bits and the Twitch Primes. It's been fun. No matter what happens, we'll be watching an Apple event next week, and that feels good to say. I like knowing there's going to be an event of some kind, so I'm pumped. Are you guys? Stay tuned. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.